Hello, Kidney Warriors! James here from Dadvice TV, your online kidney health coach, and welcome to video number, holy cow, 200 of Dadvice TV, helping you learn about living with kidney disease, living great with kidney disease, learning about diet and lifestyle changes that can help improve your quality of life, help you manage kidney disease, help extend your life expectancy, and just give you lots of energy and feeling great. Now, if you're new to this channel, welcome. Great to have you here. You're going to want to hop on over to YouTube when we're done and subscribe to the Dadvice TV YouTube channel. Click that little bell. That way you can see all the new notifications for new episodes. And everybody, I just this morning updated the schedule for August on dadvicetv.com. We got lots of great shows, and we're going to meet a new dietitian this month. We're going to be doing a Q&A with her. Woo! That's going to be a lot of fun. You'll have to check the calendar to see when Shelby will be here, and she's from Plant Powered Kidneys, so she works with Jen. So you'll get to meet somebody new, learn even more great stuff to help you kick kidney disease to the curb. Now tonight, besides being episode number 200, which is huge, we're going to kind of do things a little more interactive as we dive into our topic, sodium and snacks that are low sodium, that we're always looking for as kidney patients. It's great when we're eating salads, we're making stir fry, we're making all these healthy meals. But throughout the day, in between those meals, that gap, it's nice to get a snack. And eating low sodium is important for all of us. So we're going to talk about that. But to help us better understand why we should be eating low sodium, how to find low sodium, how to read through those tricky labels. Woo! There's some tricks we're going to talk about tonight. Here from Plant Powered Kidneys is Renal Dietitian Jen Hernandez. Hey, Jen, how you doing?
Hey James, I'm doing really, really wonderful, enjoying this bright, sunny day that we have today. So very excited to be back on and really excited to have our chat tonight. I'm really excited that we're going to be able to get some audience engagement, and I am looking to hear from you all tonight about your snacks, and we're going to be talking about what you have as well. But if you've never met me, my name is Jen Hernandez. I'm the founder of Plant Powered Kidneys, and I am a renal dietitian. I have helped people in dialysis. I've helped people with early stage kidney disease, even preventive, doing kidney screenings with the Kidney Foundation to help people in all stages of CKD. And I focus as a dietitian on nutrition. We look at all aspects of nutrition and gut health, the digestion and wellness to make sure that you're doing everything you possibly can for your best kidney health to prevent or delay the need for dialysis. So that is our big thing and what we focus on at Plant Powered Kidneys. And if you haven't already, I would highly encourage that you join our Facebook group. You can look up Plant Powered Kidneys, and we are there, over 5,000 members and growing. And it is really, really fantastic with
Woohoo!
everybody's supportive and encouraging words there. I was going through almost every day. I go into the group and comment and try to help people, give some insight and answers, and it's always really lovely to be connecting with people there in the group. So if you're not there already, I hope you join us because we're always sharing information there, and it's not just me, it's other people that are in there, including other dietitians that are also there to help. So it's a really great wealth of information in the Facebook group.
Cool. Now, we have an activity that we want people to do today. So why don't you go ahead and tell them, because this is an interactive show today, guys.
Yes.
Jen's going to have you do something. I want you to do it. And we're going to have a two-way conversation in the chat during the live show. So what do we want them to do,
Yes.
Jen?
So this is something that I do not only with my private clients, but it's also something that I do in the Plant Powered Kidneys 6-week course. So in week 2, we talk about sodium and fluids, and I have them go through their kitchen, go through their pantry, and look at their labels. So for those of you who are watching, if you are able to, I want to give you a couple minutes to go to your kitchen and grab grab something that you want to look into more. Grab something you'd like to learn more about because we're going to be talking about what to look for today. Whatever it is, wherever it is, go find that and rejoin us. And then what I want you to do is in the chat, I want you to tell us what you have. And we're going to start diving into more about the things to look for on the labels because it is very, very important to understand, especially when it comes to sodium. You want to understand what's going on that on that label, front, back,
Mm-hmm.
each of the sides, all over the place. It can be very, very tricky, but we're going to talk about it tonight.
Yep. So everyone, go grab something, and now I'm going to do my normal rambling, talk a little bit about some generic stuff to give you guys all time. So go grab a snack, grab something you like to eat that you want to learn more about. This is going to be an interactive episode tonight.
Yes, I'm very,
Now
very excited.
now we'll give them some time for those that want to go get something to go get it. While they are doing that, let's kind of talk about some of the basics that we've talked about before, because maybe we have someone new and they're like, okay, I'm not going to grab anything. I don't want to miss anything. And this show is always recorded. You can always go back, but it's great to be here live because you can post comments and questions. Jen sees them. I see them. Each other gets to see them. It's great. What the heck is sodium?
So, sodium is a naturally occurring mineral. This is actually something that is essential to our body. And we've talked about it before in the nutrition function panel when we were talking about labs. Sodium is usually one of the very top numbers that you'll see in your blood test results because it's something that our body will have some sodium. It's really helpful for nerve and muscle functions. It's even important for brain health. And of course, it's important for fluid balance. So, sodium is incredibly important. I cannot stress that enough. The
Yes.
challenge, yeah, the challenge though is salt. That is where we get into this kind of stickier situation because sodium salt are a little bit different. Sodium is that mineral that we find naturally. Salt is the thing that we add to food, basically. That is what we add to food, and it will include sodium, but it include other things too. And that's the one that tends to add up in our diet. So when we're
Oh,
talking about
yeah.
sodium related to the diet, we're really looking at salt.
Yeah, and my doctor, one of the very first things, because of course, high blood pressure, got to protect my heart, my kidneys not looking great. The very first thing he told me was, James, go home. He asked me, "What do you have a salt shaker?" I said, "Yeah." "What kind?" He goes, "Oh, it's a little white one. You buy it in the 2-pack, and because you just shake it and salt falls out." I said, "Yep." He goes, "Throw that away. Don't you ever use one of those again." He told me, "I want you to go get a grinder. You still need salt. You're gonna use
Hmm.
salt, but he wants me to use a grinder so that I know how much salt I'm putting on, and I have to take effort twisting it for some salt to
Hmm.
come out so that I just don't tilt it and tons of salt, sodium, falls out into my food." And that was a
Hmm.
huge, easy thing to do to greatly reduce the amount of sodium. It made me more aware when I was adding salt to my food. And now I I actually kind of undersalt. My salt
Yeah.
stays at the very bottom. So the doctor's like, "Hey, you've got some room. If you want to enjoy a little more salt, you can. You've got the room." But I've gotten so used to not doing it, so I keep myself pretty low.
Yeah, and that's something that I find a lot with clients when we talk about taking care of sodium really, really tightly and doing more whole foods, that they are then able to add more salt, kind of like you're talking about using your
Hmm.
salt grinder. You're able to put it back into the diet because you have effectively removed it from a lot of other sources that have been just piling sodium into your body. And with kidney disease, that's the challenge, is that your kidneys can't really take care of it as well. And then the
Hmm.
sodium, I was talking about this morning on Facebook and YouTube. The high salt will add pressure to the kidneys, will
Yep.
because it basically retains fluid. That causes pressure to the kidneys. It creates more problems with the kidneys, creates high blood pressure, which also creates problems for the kidneys. And then the kidneys can't control blood pressure. And it's this huge like cycle of issues that can spur from having too much salt in the diet. But when you get that taken care of and everything kind of gets a little more balanced, then, as we mentioned, sodium is something that is important for our bodies. Then you look at how you can include it in a really safe and healthy way.
Yeah, and that important for our bodies part, I did not understand in the beginning. When I was first diagnosed with kidney issues and sent home, and we've talked about this before, my wife made me not a low sodium, she made a no sodium chili. And I tried my best to eat 0 grams of sodium, which is not possible unless you're just drinking
No.
water, and it can't run through a water softener because that adds a little bit of sodium. And I actually ended up having problems and went to the doctor for my regular checkups, and my sodium was too low. It was dangerous. I did not realize that if you cut way back, you could actually be doing just as much harm as having too much. So we got to find that right balance. And, for me, that pretty much came from eliminating all those high sodium food sources, getting rid of the regular shaker and get my grinder, and being more aware of when I added salt to my foods.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm seeing some of the comments that are talking about, okay, well, how much salt is the right amount? Because we know 0 is not the goal. That's not the goal for
Correct.
any aspect of the
0
renal
is
diet,
death.
just for
We
the
don't want
record.
that.
No, 0, that's driving your car until it's 0 in gas, and then you're expecting to go anywhere. You can't do it. So, no, the recommendation, so in general, keeping sodium to 2,300 milligrams, 2,300 milligrams or less per day. That is recommended by the American Heart Association, which heart, cardiovascular, very important, blood pressure, all of that. So in some cases, going down to 1,500 milligrams, 1,500 milligrams may be appropriate. And in some cases, with certain conditions for kidney disease, certain people with serious heart issues where it's very delicate, that 1,500 milligrams might be appropriate. But we're looking at this range, 1,500, 2,300, about there is what we're looking for. Now, the average American diet is closer to 3,700 milligrams, about there.
Yeah, it's about 4,000, guys. It's like
Yeah.
at least double to almost 3 times what we should be eating.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So this is, I don't know if you ever, I mean, guess I'm trying to think. So there's like the idea of this pendulum, and like you kind of swing to one way, you're trying to correct, and then you overcorrect and you go too far on the other side of the pendulum. That's kind of what I think of when we talk about these kind of subjects is, okay, well, we don't want to go too far. We just want to let it kind of be in this middle area here. We don't want to get too extreme one way or the other. So you definitely want to be looking at the foods that are typical in your diet. And when I say typical in your diet, if you're not going out to eat fast food, you probably don't need to worry. Like you don't need to focus too much on fast food. We know that it's high in sodium, but it's not really applicable to you. So you want to think about some different areas where salt is hiding in your common goods. And that's why I asked you guys to go grab something from your pantry, something that you have in your house that you gravitate to, something that you like to have on hand because you enjoy it. And we can talk about the things that you see on that food label. So again, if you haven't done this already and if you want to participate, you can, I already saw somebody posted that they have, I got to go back up here in our
Oyster crackers.
comments.
My
Yeah,
kids
so Carolyn
love
has,
those.
the soup and oyster crackers. Yeah. So if anybody else, if you want to join along, play along in this dietitian's weird little game, this is something that we really like to do. So let's see, what do we have next here?
Well, what are some of the common high sodium foods that we will
hmm
find? And while we're talking about those, maybe people can tell us, hey, here's what I grabbed out of my pantry. We got the oyster crackers, great one right there. My kids love those.
hmm
Um, I I
Okay.
should have grabbed something earlier, but I didn't. But that's
Well,
what we'll do. We'll let
I
people
did this
type what
really
they,
spot on
yeah, we'll let
last
people
minute when I
type
told you, hey
what they
James, guess what we're doing
found.
tonight? Okay, so some other foods that are commonly high in sodium. Well, of course, packaged snacks, but It's not all of them, so we don't. I remember even as like a very fresh dietitian, hearing the shop around the perimeter, which in general, you definitely want to shop around the perimeter. Produce is out there, but there's also a lot of good things in the center of the store as well. Like we have dried beans, we have whole grains, we have a lot of good shelf stable products in there. So you want to look in the pantry area as well. But some of the packaged foods that maybe come already like pre-seasoned, pre-flavored, those ones will most likely have a good chunk of salt in there because they've basically taken that control out of your hands and they've decided how much salt should be in this product. You didn't decide it, they did. Of course, in that context is canned vegetables. And I never want to demonize vegetables, but I will say the canned vegetables that aren't lower in sodium, if they don't have, and we'll talk more about this in a bit, if they don't have some kind of emphasis on being lower in sodium, they could add up and be pretty salty pretty fast, especially when we're talking about eating more vegetables. So, just as a little side tangent, if you do have canned vegetables and you don't have access to lower sodium, make sure you drain and rinse them really well to get rid of residual salt so that you're at least not taking on all the salt that was in that can already. So, if that's what you have, then I don't want you not to eat vegetables. I just want you to take care of them and try to get rid of some of the salt. Um, of course, our processed meats, our deli meats, our cured meats, the good old salami, pepperoni,
Loaded.
bologna. Yeah, very, very high in salt. This is one of those things. If you cut out salt for a while and you put that, whatever it is, on your tongue,
Oh,
it might just burn because of the salt. You can
it
feel
is
that burn.
shocking. My kids had some French fries the other day. The mom took them someplace. They got French fries. They're at the house, and my kids were like, "Oh, they're so good, Dad." They're from Wendy's. Try one. I thought, okay, I'll try one. One French
Mhm.
fry. I could see the salt crystals all over it. And my kids don't like things that are extra, extra salty. I took a bite of that French fry. Oh my good. I could not eat it. It was so salty. It tastes
Yeah.
like eating a stick of salt.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some things that are really salty, whether we see the salt or not. Sometimes it's very apparent. I'm looking into the comments again, and I'm really excited to be talking about some of these things because you guys got some good ones. I am
Oh
super curious. I mean,
yeah.
cereals, we talked about cereals. Yep, some of cereals do have salt in them. Even if they're sweetened cereals, this is a flavor trick that a lot of sugary food will have salt added to it because it emphasizes the sweetness. If you ever see recipes where they sprinkle salt on top of cookies or on top of whatever kind of treats, or if you're making any kind of sweetbread or cake or something, very, very often they're adding in salt. And it could be a lot of salt. It could be a teaspoon, a half a teaspoon of salt, even though it's a sweet treat that you're making. The salt is there to basically emphasize that sugar flavor. And it sounds weird, but that's really what it does.
Yep. We've got lots of great things here. So do we want to go through a couple of these, or how would you like to move forward with them?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do a little bit about what to look for on the label. So the different types of the different types of labels that you might see on your food label, and this could be on the front. This could be something that is really, this is like a food product's golden ticket. If they can say that they are low sodium or no
Hmm.
added salt, or if they can put one of these terms on the front of their label, it's going to be really eye-catching, especially to all of us that are looking out for sodium. But the trick is it doesn't automatically mean that it's actually low in sodium. So one of the terms that some companies will use is light in sodium. Oh, perfect, you've got it.
Yeah, I
So
brought
this
up
is
the
a
blog.
little.
So, yeah, for everyone, just a reminder, plantpoweredkidneys.com. There's the blog with what we're talking about. Lots of great charts and lists there. When we're done, make sure you go there.
Yes. So in the top left, we see light in sodium. This is a term that you might see on some crackers, some tortilla chips or other kinds of chips, even nuts and seeds could be deemed light in sodium. And I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of these labels, they like using the color blue. or
I see
green.
blue and orange quite often with light
Ooh,
and
yeah,
sodium.
yeah. So again, they're highlighting this and they're saying, hey, this is a better option for you. But what they're actually saying is it has 50% less sodium than the original product. It doesn't make it low in sodium, it just makes it a lower sodium option than their original. So if anybody has pulled a product and they see light in sodium, I want you to tell us in the comments what it is, which product you have that says light in sodium. And we'll go through the different options too. But if you have anything there, I've seen it a lot for chips and crackers, those kinds of, even popcorn, I think, and nuts. I've said that. A lot of those types of foods will have 50% less sodium, or they might say 50% less sodium. And whenever they say less, you've got to think, well, less than what? Less
Exactly.
than, like, what are you
They
comparing
don't
it
tell you
to?
the what.
No, they don't. Because why would they want to point out a different product of theirs? Because otherwise, it'd be highlighting that this other product isn't as good as the one that they're trying to sell you right there. So, very, very interesting there. The next one is the reduced sodium, and this is another one. It's comparing to the original. So, it's 25% less sodium than the original product. So, it's not, I mean, it's still a better option. And when I was talking with people this morning about this, I was saying, well, these are still better than the originals, and it could be a great stepping stone if you are working on transitioning to a lower sodium diet. And if maybe the ones that are lower in sodium, you're like, this has no taste and I can't enjoy it, then maybe the light in sodium or reduced sodium is a good option for you as you're working on that transition, because you're retraining your taste buds.
Mhm.
You're basically allowing them to heal from all of the salt that has been bombarding them. So these can be good options as you're working on transitioning down. Now, next we have low sodium. So if you see a label that says low sodium, 140 milligrams or less of sodium per serving. So that is where we're looking at the number, and this is on the back. So when you're looking at the nutrition label and you're looking at the calories, well, the serving size, the calories, the fat, all of that, the sodium should be either 140 milligrams or less. And that is when they're allowed to say it's low sodium. Okay. Um, and then Vicky says
And
the
you mentioned
Lay's,
one important thing, serving, per serving. We've got to check those servings
yes,
because some things may say 140 milligrams per serving, 3.5 servings in this can or this
hmm,
package. You're like, okay, now it just ratcheted up because I'm going to eat that whole little packet.
exactly, exactly. And that's where I feel like some other types of fad diets, I'll say. I saw somebody post earlier about the fried
Pork
pork skins, I
rinds,
think.
yes.
Pork rinds, there we go. Saying that these are okay because they're keto safe. And it's like, well, they're probably looking at the fat content with keto and they're not looking at sodium. And therefore, we're probably thinking, oh, if it's considered safe, then it's something that I can have like loads and loads of. But you've got to multiply that sodium for every serving you're having. So if you have
Mhm.
2 or 3 servings, you take that sodium level or that sodium amount in the nutrition label, and you've got to multiply that by however many servings you're going to have. And then is it still a good option for you? So, oh, and I see some posts about bread. You guys, this is the part of my
Ooh,
job that I hate. I'm
that's one of the
Debbie Downer.
sneaky places.
Yeah. Bread is a sneaky, sneaky product. I mentioned earlier that they add the bread into a lot of baked goods, and bread is very much the case. There are some great bread options that are lower in sodium and lower, not low. I mean, there are some that are low, but bread is typically high in sodium. And I've seen per slice, I've seen sodium in the
Exactly.
200 plus range.
It's per slice. We got to be careful with
Yes,
that because I don't eat a sandwich with one slice of bread. That's half
exactly.
a sandwich if you're folding it over.
Exactly. Right, right. So they're kind of, it's tricky in this sense because they're saying a serving is a slice, but how often are you only having one slice of bread? So think about in those cases, maybe doubling. I have seen a couple bread companies, I believe some of the thinner slice bread options will say 2 slices is a serving. So those might be a good option when you're making a sandwich because then you see, okay, it's going to give me this much sodium for my sandwich, which kind of connecting back to what we were talking about earlier, sandwiches, very high in sodium because, again, you think bread plus whatever you're putting inside, plus
Yeah.
bread, sodium plus sodium plus sodium. It can add up really, really fast in a sandwich. And you've got to think about all those components tacking on the sodium. But there are
Hmm.
some good bread options. Dave's Killer Thin Cut is the kind that I usually use. I believe there is a Sara Lee wheat that is also a good option, lower in sodium. Yeah, there's quite a few ones. I'll have to get some new information, some of these new graphics up with bread as well.
Yeah, my
Um,
wife just picked up some from Aldi's. Their keto bread, a new
huh.
one they just got in. They're very small buns. They're tiny buns, but it helped. I was like, okay, this is gonna be loaded with sodium. And I looked, and it wasn't bad. I was like, okay, these aren't bad, but they're tiny. They're bigger than a White Castle sandwich, but not by much.
So you still feel let down.
Well, yeah, you got to stack it up. You got to be putting on a lot
Yeah,
of lettuce and goodness on there and make it tall because it's not getting
yeah.
wide.
Uh-huh. Oh man, yeah. Some of those things there's things that they sacrifice and then things that you also give up when you're like, okay, well, if I'm gonna have this, then this is what my sandwich is gonna be instead.
Yep.
Um, so I've seen some people talk about the no added salt label, and that
Yes.
is the one the bottom right. So this is something where the company is saying we have not put any salt into this product. We have not, in packaging it, we have not added any salt. But as I mentioned in the very beginning, there is salt that is naturally, or sodium that is naturally occurring in foods. So it will potentially have some sodium listed because that food has sodium in it naturally, just the way it's made, which is not a bad thing because in those cases, the no added salt most times is still going to be quite low, especially if you're looking at unsalted nuts or canned vegetables with no added salt, things like that. It is going to be much lower. And I'm seeing all of the I'm seeing all of the shocked comments about bread. Yeah, you guys,
Woo.
bread is tough. Bread is
Yeah,
really,
when
really
we're
tough.
done,
And
go grab your bread, flip it over, and look at the label. You guys are going to be
yep,
shocked. I saw
yep. And
sourdough
then
went by. I was trying to remember the name. Uh, uh, Sourdough is
ah,
one that I tend to find lower in sodium.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and it has great flavor in it too, which is really
Hmm.
good. Um, and then yeah, the Ezekiel low sodium and zero sodium. I don't know, between you and me, everybody out there, it tastes like it's zero sodium. I don't.
Exactly. I can't eat it. You so
Yeah.
we gotta at least enjoy our food, and that's where a renal dietitian can help us. We make choices and we cut here and there. That
Mhm.
Ezekiel one, I tried it. I just it was too much of a cut. I'm like, no, this
Yeah.
is gonna make me regret eating, and then I'm gonna go off my diet and I'm gonna do something that I
Hmm.
shouldn't. So
Exactly. Exactly. But there's other options out there. So if you can find my goal for sodium with bread, if you can find it like about 125 milligrams or less, even like 100 milligrams per slice, I think that would be more realistic.
mhm.
Um, that's going to be some salt, but not super high. I saw somebody found that they had a bread that was 250 milligrams per slice. That's really high. Yeah, because if you had a sandwich, that's 500 milligrams. If you're on that
Bread
lower
only.
end of the sodium, yeah, yeah, bread only. If you're on that
That's
lower
bread
end
and
of the
air
sodium range,
sandwich. It's not very
so
filling.
basically dry toast. I
Yeah.
mean, fun. So, yeah. So I would definitely encourage you guys when you're looking at bread, that could be one of the first things that you take a look at in the store. The next time you go grocery shopping for bread, be that person who's there in the aisle for 15, 20 minutes just looking at labels. I will be right there beside you doing the same exact thing because I always do. It is just something to really get in the habit of and keep an eye out for what you can find, what's available. I mean, definitely look at the price because, of course, price also matters when we're looking for bread, but
Mhm.
see what you can find that is the best deal, but also is going to be a better sodium option for you. Because if you're going to go through a loaf of bread a week with your family, that's going to be something that you want to be able to not think too hard about or not be too concerned about.
Yeah, I found Rachel's comment. OMG, the size of my bread was so high.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, that's
250 for
high.
one slice.
Yeah, that's high. So there's some other options out there. Yeah, Pepperidge Farms, Dave's is a good. I haven't seen Aldi. We have an Aldi here, but I never. It's just like a little bit further than the
It
market that
changes
we
all
have.
the time, so you got to be
Yeah,
careful. Always
yeah,
check
yeah,
the label.
absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing, you guys. No matter what kind of we don't want to get into this like false sense of security where we think that the company isn't going to do anything. They're not going to send you a personal letter to be like, "Dear James, we added some salt to your bread. We hope you enjoy it. Sincerely, the company." They're not going to be sending you out this little love letter to let you know you've got to do the homework and you've got to just be diligent. And it's not you have to check it every single time, but once you find a bread that works for you, just kind
Mhm.
of spot check it to make sure that it's still a good option for you. Because the same thing can be said for additives, phosphorus additives, potassium additives. They can put the stuff into their ingredients or into the product without notice. And I mean, they won't change anything on the label. They just change the ingredients. And as dietitians, especially renal dietitians, we spend a lot of our time looking at food labels for our patients and our clients. We know that this happens all the time. And we're very diligent to look out for everybody, but we cannot possibly look at every single rest or every single ingredient list. So we enlist your help as well to keep an eye out on these things.
And Alice has a great suggestion, a lettuce wrap. So I
Yeah.
love lettuce wraps. When I was first transitioning to pretty much get rid of red meat, it took me a long time to get rid of that. I had to really, even though I know all the things it does to my body, it took me a lot. But I went to lettuce wraps. They were great. One of the
Mm-hmm.
things I use right now, if I want a sandwich, I really don't use bread myself. I use this really high fiber um, wraps.
Mm-hmm.
They're from a Mexican store down the street,
Oh, okay. Okay.
which I absolutely love going in there. And it's got the label. It is low sodium, but the ones that
That's good.
this is going to be a shocker, and I'm not telling everyone to run out and do this, but the ones I get are 25 grams of fiber in a
Oh
wrap.
my gosh. Woo.
Exactly.
Woo.
I use one of those, and it's like, hey, I've almost got my day's fiber.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
You just got to make sure that you remember you ate that one at lunch so you don't eat another one for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Then you
Yeah,
got 50
exactly.
grams of fiber plus your fiber from everything else.
Right. That's a lot. That's some healthy bowels, I hope.
Exactly.
Oh, but what you said, it made me think of another thing because we saw a comment about this, tortillas. So we're talking about
Hmm.
wraps. This is another really sneaky food that can be high in sodium. So, especially flour tortillas are notoriously high in salt. You've got to be really careful with what to look for tortillas, because I've seen them upwards of 350, 400 milligrams for a tortilla.
Oh
So
my
very, very high.
goodness.
But
I try to
corn
keep each
tortillas,
meal at
mhm,
600 is what I try to do.
that's a good goal.
That's kind of
I think
my
that's
my
really good.
my target, and I don't eat breakfast. So pretty much
Hmm.
I've got two meals and then snacks.
Hmm. Yeah, I think 600 milligrams, because if you're doing 3 meals a day, that's 1800
Mhm.
milligrams. And then if you can account for a couple snacks, which
I
again,
do more
as
than
we're
a
looking into
couple.
some of these things, well, as we're looking into these, you see that you can definitely, I mean, a snack, then I would look at like 200, 250 milligrams of sodium, and that would
Mhm.
be really realistic to fit into the diet. Um, So yeah, as we're looking at some of these snacks, and I'm loving to see all these comments and people sharing these different things that they're finding. It's really, really cool to be seeing all this. So hopefully you guys are enjoying us talking about all this. But I wanted to give some other ideas. So I do have, of course, more of this information on the blog as well, but a few other options. I kind of put these snacks into these different categories. So I have the crunchy and savory snacks, and that's my husband's go-to. He's all about like chips and salsa. So I'm always looking for low sodium chips, and I love Late July. They have a lime and sea salt chip, which I don't know about you guys, but if I ever see a brand that's promoting salt as the flavor, I'm like super curious about it. And I do find very often that the ones that promote salt on the label are the lower salt options than the ones that don't bring it up at all. And it sounds really backwards because they're being like, oh, we have salt, but many times it's not very much, which is really fantastic. So it gives a very nice taste with having a little bit of salt, but the Late July having that lime on there is really good too.
Oh, I love lime. Mm.
Hmm.
I wish lime was used a lot more. It's not used enough.
Right? Yeah, I think citrus in general, lemon and lime, those are great. Even orange, adding those kind of flavors to your meal is absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
Um, and then, oh, another one, another snack option, popcorn. One of my clients doesn't go a day without having popcorn. That is their go-to snack, and it's so fantastic. And they've done absolutely awesome. They've done really, really phenomenal
Mhm.
with their keeping their kidney function, improving their kidney function, doing so well. But popcorn is a whole grain and it's low in protein, low in potassium, low in phosphorus. The phosphorus that's in there is organic, so it's not even highly absorbed. So it is a beautiful blank canvas for you to do whatever you like. And I know we've talked about different flavors to add to popcorn, nutritional
This is where
yeast.
lime and a little
Yep.
chili.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm in heaven.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And you can find popcorn in the bags that is low sodium. You can also get the pre-popped bags. So there's the skinny popcorn, there's Boom Chicka Pop. There are other kinds of popcorn that are already done for you that you can just snack on and they're low in sodium
Let me
right
bring
off the
up your
get-go.
page right here from the
Yeah,
blog.
there's some more graphics for you. But really, really good options. And a lot of these options. Okay, so the edamame
Oh, wait.
one, that's an
I thought I saw Skinny Pop on there. I must have scrolled
I
too
think I
far.
have it. I think I have it on another one. I'm
Aha.
always trying to get more of these things to come up for you guys. But I
Ooh,
wanted to point
edamame.
out,
Mm.
so the dry roasted edamame, you see it, I don't know how well everyone can see it, but it says sea salt right underneath edamame. It's in
Oh,
green.
phew.
Yeah, there you go. Sea salt. So this is one of those things that is highlighting we put salt on our food, but in a serving size in a third of a cup, which is way, way, way plenty because this is something that's high in protein. It's high in nutrients because it's dry roasted. So it packs a lot of nutrients in a small amount. But a third of a cup, 140 milligrams of sodium. So even though it is promoting that it has salt on it, it's actually low sodium because it's underneath, well, it's at that 140 milligram mark. So, that's an example of a product that is basically saying, hey, we put salt on the food, but we didn't go crazy with it. We didn't overdo it. So
And
that's
I
something. And
use
then
these, and I don't use a third of a cup. That's actually a
oh,
lot
right.
of this.
It's a lot. Yeah,
I use a lot less, and I just sprinkle it, add it to a salad, or even stir
exactly.
fry. I throw
Yeah.
everything in stir fry. It's great.
Oh, it's so easy to, right?
Yeah.
And then another one, so when I talked about like a sweeter food, so the grain-free granola in the bottom center there, that is a third of a cup is 110 milligrams of sodium. So that's something where they have this sweeter, it's vanilla almond butter flavored, but they put the salt
Mm.
in there to emphasize that sweetness. So that's an example of one of those other types of snack options that you have that sweeter. And then Kind bars, I'm such a fan of Kind bars. I love that they're very minimally processed and you can see the whole nuts and seeds and grains that they use. And then they use some sugar, some syrup to basically put it all together. And they use just a little bit of salt, 60 milligrams in their mini bars. And their mini bars are perfect for a quick snack that has fiber and a little bit of plant protein in there for you. I think those are really good options as well.
These are great in the car. Like you're going to work and
Hmm.
you need a snack to take with you or throw something in your work bag or something like that. These are fantastic even for the kids. It's easy to give it to them. You don't feel bad. They taste great. And we buy them. My wife loves these. We buy them in bulk at Costco. So
Hmm.
we always have plenty of them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think they're a really well-known brand now, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was even telling people this morning, you can find some of these products in the gas station. So if you are running around getting errands done and you've got to stop and fill up the tank, you probably will find some good options even in the convenience store because a lot of companies now are focused on giving more variety, more options, more good for you options. So don't assume that you can't find anything that won't work for you. Just kind of, again, take a minute, look through the labels, look to some of these products, some of these brands that you know that you have a better choice, a better option of something that's lower in sodium.
Perfect. Now, I do not know which way to scroll, so let me bring us back on. There
I
were some.
well, I we're jumping around talking about a lot of different things today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here's some of the other snack suggestions. You kind of touched
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit on this with the unsalted nuts, which I absolutely love, especially the walnuts.
Hmm.
They got a
Hmm.
little fiber in them. Fiber is our friend.
Yep, absolutely. I have, let's see, the unsalted walnuts, the almonds. I really like keeping the slivered almonds on hand because they are kind of like a little chip to me, and they're a little more delicate, but you can toast them and get a lot of flavor out of them. Pumpkin seeds, you can get salted or unsalted, so be really careful when you're looking at nuts and seeds. Make sure you're looking for the unsalted because even if it doesn't say anything about salt, they might have salt added to it, especially if it's roasted. If it's roasted, there is a good chance that they've added salt to it. Not guaranteed, but there's a good chance. And something like the dried fruit, they might add salt to it because again, the salt is going to help with the sweetness of the food. So check the label, see what's there. If it's like 10 milligrams of sodium and you don't see salt in the ingredient list, remember that is naturally occurring
Mm-hmm.
sodium. So it's going to be really, really minimal. And this is something that you'd have no sodium added for that trail mix. So it's a really great, very nutrient dense type of option. You could even also in this example, you could add some cereal. So if you find a cereal that doesn't have salt or a lot of salt added to it, you could add some cereal to bulk this up, and that would help reduce the potassium and protein amount per serving by adding something like that in to make it a bigger serving. Because trail mix is another nutrient dense food.
Yeah. I love trail mix. Making my
Hmm.
own.
I was
Yeah.
talking with somebody not too long ago, and they were saying, I can never do trail mix. I used to have trail mix all the time, and it was just I just got burnt out on it. And so we're like, okay, we're gonna back to the drawing board. Let's look for another option that would work for you. Because again, you don't have to have every single thing that's out there. You want to have foods that you enjoy, and then just look for the smart options of those foods that you enjoy. And that's the big secret to all of it, really.
Yeah. And so we've been talking a lot about snacks, and snacking is something I do more than I should, but I enjoy it. But snacking, it really is important when it's part of a
Mhm.
renal diet, correct?
Absolutely. One of the things that we've talked about before is that the renal diet is usually higher in calories. And a lot of people, when you're cutting out so many things, you're cutting down on the calories, you're cutting down on that energy that your body really needs to take care of itself and to be able to take care of your kidneys. So, having snacks, especially if you're going to go more than 4 hours without a meal, that is something that you want to plan for. And you want to assume that you should have a snack, whether or not you're hungry, whether or not you eat it, that's your call. But it's much better to be prepared and to know that when you open your pantry, when you open your cupboards, when you open your cabinets, to know that the things that you have there, you feel confident about, you
Hmm.
feel good about, and you know that you can pull some things together and it's going to be something that's really good for you. So when you have snacks as part of your day, it's going to give you that extra, well, a lot of extra benefits that, like I said, the extra calories and then extra comfort in knowing that you're really nourishing your body, especially with the right kind of foods.
Exactly. I feel good when my snacks are something healthy, and I just gotta
Hmm.
I portion them off in the kitchen. Then I come to my office and I eat them. One thing I
Hmm.
definitely do not do with snacks is open the bag and eat from it because I'll
Oh
finish
yeah,
that bag.
yeah. That is something I think that's something a lot of people do, and this goes into this whole other concept about mindful eating. And if you guys have heard any of this topic at all, this is something really big dietitians love to talk about as well. We really focus on being present when we eat and eating for fuel, not eating out of boredom or eating out of other feelings, like other emotions of stress or anger or even happiness, anything like that that can definitely impact our nutrition. It can impact our blood test results. So we want to be careful with that kind of stuff too.
Yep. And Don just asked, is it okay to have a serving of unsalted peanut butter? Unsalted peanut butter is great. Make a snack.
Yeah,
I love it when I just turn around the package. Usually it says natural in the front. Turn around the package and the ingredients list peanuts. That's
right.
what I love. And
That's
then,
the best kind.
yes.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, and peanut or nut butters in general, that's another one that can be really sneaky with salt. Um, and some unhealthy oils too. I mean, peanuts and nuts do have healthy fats in them already. So when they're adding these other oils to it, they're adding it in a anti, this might sound confusing, antioxidizing, not antioxidants like good for you things, but antioxidizing as in protecting the fat from going rancid. So they're adding in these components to protect and keep it shelf stable longer. But natural peanut butter, natural nut butter is absolutely fantastic. And again, you can always do a sprinkle of salt if you choose to on that food. We're not saying that it's not something that you can never do. The good thing is by pulling out salt from your other packaged foods and keeping it lower, you're going to be protecting your kidney health. You're going to be protecting your overall health, including your blood pressure in doing so. And then you might still be adding sodium later. And I've had plenty of clients who do that. We talk about adding salt into the diet and giving more flavor and even talking about other ways to add flavor.
Yeah, I love I or how's the best way to say this? So I immediately cut all the heavy sodium packaged foods, fast food gone. Boom. Got rid of that in the beginning. And what I was shocked to discover was that, in my allowance, kind of how I think about it for each of the nutrients, in my sodium allowance, I had enough to where I was able to add salt, which
Hmm.
contains sodium. Um, I was in control, and that actually made me feel kind of good. Like, yeah, I'm going to add some salt, and I got used to just liking a slight salt taste instead of the excessive salt taste that so much fast food and a lot of prepackaged foods contain.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Now, do you
So
want
I
to
was seeing
answer?
some,
Yeah, you want to answer these
yeah.
questions, or do we want to talk about any of the products that people grabbed off the shelf? We've talked a bit
Well,
about
if
peanut butter. That is good.
I know, yeah. Um, let's see if we can try to cover some of these. So first of all, if you eat something that has too much salt, there's really not a whole lot you can do to undo that. Um, you can drink plenty of water, but if you're on a fluid restriction, that's not going to be helpful. So follow the fluid guidelines that your healthcare team has set for you, however much you should be drinking, and stick to that. If you eat a lot of salt, you'll probably see it in your blood pressure. So if you're checking your blood pressure, you might see a spike there, and you'll just know, like, this is how my body is reacting to salt, and hopefully it's something that you can be careful of next time, because there's not something that you can eat that will reverse that reaction from your body. So just stay hydrated and be careful with your other sodium choices throughout the rest of your day. Let me see what else we have. Oh yeah, so Alice did mention something to take with the edema. Your doctor may prescribe a water pill, a diuretic, but that is a prescription. So don't go doing like those funky teas. Don't do anything that's over the counter. If you're experiencing problems, you really want to talk to your healthcare professional, because that is a symptom that something's going on. And if you try to self-medicate in that case, it might not be solving the problem. It could be doing more damage. You just never know. So make sure that you talk with your healthcare professional about any kind of medication changes, which I do see a lot of my clients have medication changes as they're making diet changes as well. And then when they do eat something salty, they become hypersensitive to it. And they're very well aware that that's how their body's going to react. Okay. Are you seeing anything, James, as you're going through?
Oh, I tagged everyone's item that they found. So hopefully everyone turned their item around, looked at the serving size, and looked at how much sodium, because we got to include that serving size. That's one of those sneaky things, everybody, that they do to kind of try and get around things sometimes. Is you'll look at it and go like, oh, this isn't too bad, but serving size is not what you want to eat. You're going to eat 3, 4, 5 times that serving size, maybe, or be tempted to. So, I'd be curious how many people were shocked besides the bread and the cereals.
Yeah. One that I've been surprised with are pretzels. Pretzels can be really, really salty. There are unsalted pretzels, but they taste about as exciting as you could imagine. So it's all about the dip, putting some good hummus with it.
There we go.
Will really make a big difference. But pretzels, any pita chips can be high in sodium. I've seen some that were upwards of like 15% daily value per serving, which is pretty high. And again, for serving sizes with chips, pretzels, things like that, many times it's like, 8 chips or 10 chips. It's a very, you might pull out that amount and you go like, that's it. Like, that's how much I'm getting. And it's very disappointing.
I just looked something up just for, I don't want to cuss, just for giggles. I work in the automotive industry, so there's a term that dealers use that has a cuss word in it. I was thinking about Chili's. I used to love to go to Chili's. Haven't been there in forever. And they put that basket of those fresh, warm, ultra thin chips right there. You can order it. You get it free if you're a club member. And you got that salsa, all you can eat. Oh, so good. So I just looked up the sodium in one order of those chips, which is not very much chips, okay? 1,920. I used to go through baskets of those chips back in the day, sitting there with friends. And we're all just plowing through those and eating like a basket or 2 each. Just in not even an appetizer. It's something to eat while you're bored.
Right. That is a pre-appetizer, but it's also your day's worth of sodium in that one food item.
And that's no salsa.
That wasn't even your meal.
That's the chips.
Yeah.
Just the chips, not the salsa. Goodness.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And that's eating 80% of the order according to this. So there's even more in there. Holy cow. Do get a little tiny sliver of fiber.
Is it worth the sodium though?
No. No. It's just amazing how unhealthy, even for someone with great kidneys, that is too much sodium in a pre-appetizer. It's not even really an appetizer. Oh my goodness. Shoo. No wonder so many people have high blood pressure.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you that could be a whole other thing. And I know we'll talk about like more restaurants and things like that in an upcoming show, because don't worry you guys, there are good options when it comes to going out to eat. You just gotta, again, you've got to spend the time to do a little detective searching and look behind the curtain to get an idea of what's going to work out for you. But let's see here. So I'm trying to see.
Okay, someone said while you're looking, don't look at the Taco Bell nacho box sodium. I looked. Wow, it breaks the 2,000 mark.
Yeah. I'll tell you another one if you
with
guys
only
want to look
1,100 calories. So someone might even go like, oh, wow, this is a light box. It's only 1,100 calories, which is a lot for a meal, but not realize over 2,000 milligrams of sodium. Whoa.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a whole lot. Yeah. Let's see, another one. If you really want to go down this dark hole, I'm telling you, Olive Garden, they have a lot of high sodium things. Some things that you're like, I never would have thought that it would be high in sodium. But like I think their breadsticks are about 200 milligrams per breadstick, which again, doesn't sound terrible, but that's not the meal that you came for. So you're adding 200 plus 200 plus
You're wrong.
however many. What is it? Is it 450?
It's 460.
Okay.
You were not even halfway there. Holy cow!
Maybe
How many
I was thinking
breadsticks do
a half a
people
breadstick.
eat? I used to love those things. And then
They're
I'd get a
really high
bunch
in
to
salt.
go. Whoa!
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so again, you guys, it's all about looking at this information and thinking of, how is my body going to feel taking in this salt? And to again kind of tie it back to the snacks that we're looking for. Some of the things that you can do, first of all, try to pick a snack that has some fresh fruit or vegetable in it. So again, if you're thinking chips and dip, maybe do carrots and hummus. That's one of my favorite go-tos, carrots and hummus. Or you could do chips with salsa and find just the low sodium chips. You could do, I love cucumber with hummus, or even cucumber with cream cheese is a really good option as well. Apples and peanut butter, that's a classic. Or celery with peanut butter. So you're pairing something that is naturally basically sodium free. Remember, it has very, very minimal natural sodium in there. And then if you add it to something that is already going to be lower in sodium, it's going to be a really, really great choice for you. Now, if you can't, or if it's just the fruits or vegetables, it just isn't sounding good to you at that time, then look for something that is in a smaller package, maybe even pre-packaged. Like we talk about those mini kind bars, or the mini that's it fruit bars, things like that, that will keep you from eating a really big serving, going into that giant bag of chips, something like that. But if you only have that giant bag of chips, like what James said, get a portion out, put it in a bowl, put it in a plate or something, put the rest of it away, because that entire bag of chips is not meant to cover one snack time.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we are at the top of the hour. This has been a great conversation. I actually loved most learning how high of sodium things are. Like, I knew bread was bad, but seeing some of the things that people have talked about and looking them up, it's just been eye-opening. And I used to eat this stuff. And Dawn mentioned the endless bread basket at Olive Garden. I used to eat so many of those. Holy cow. Why? There should be a warning when they give those to you.
Honestly, some places are starting to put little warning signs for sodium for saturated fat, things like that. So, maybe down the road, maybe they will start to give people a heads up. But the question is, who's going to be paying attention to that?
Mhm.
That goes back into the big questions of, is this going to make a difference? Um, and
Exactly.
Dolores, I saw your question earlier. Fruits, don't worry. If you're eating fresh fruit, sodium is not a concern, not whatsoever. There is very, very minimal sodium, if any. So a fruit is a great option for a snack.
There we go. I had to find her to bring her up on the screen.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. It is the top of the hour. I want to thank everyone for being here. Jen has a blog all about this with so much more that we didn't even get to, including list of other snack ideas and suggestions, how to transition to finding these snacks, where to find them. So make sure and go to plantpoweredkidneys.com and check out her blog. There's a link in the description below if you want to just pop there. And if you have any comments, put them on there. Jen loves responding to people on the blog. This is, I think, this is the last video of the week. Sorry, the only video of the week. I've got a few I'm going to try to do that aren't live, that are really short. Hopefully get some of those up. But the
Cool.
calendar for the rest of August, it is up. Make sure go to dadvicetv.com and check it out. All right, everybody. This has been great. Thank you, and we will see you next week in the next video. Bye, everyone.